I started off with like $100 a day. That was always my goal because I knew at that point in my life when I was doing music, it'd just be enough for me to not maybe do the lessons anymore and just focus on the performance side of things, where I'd probably panic if I made $100 a day now. But then that changed into $500 a day and then $1,000 a day and then 10K. And the most I've made in sales a day is 70K now.
Wow.
So I suppose
Not too bad.
I mean, that's sales. And I'm a UK taxpayer. So
Yes, it definitely wasn't that government. We trust it. It's all expense. Welcome, affiliated listeners, to another very special in-person podcast episode where we're going to be joined by a member of somebody from over the pond, a super affiliate that's going to be talking about things that you need to know with Native, particularly why Native is something you should be shifting to, the benefits, and what you need to know right now with Native, plus a little bit more. And as usual, I am joined by my co-host, the lovely,
Hi, Kyle.
the amazing, the very getting ripped this summer. Show us some guns, Thomas. Oh, yeah. Great to have you today, man. So before we introduce our guest, I just want to always say we do start off with a special little thing. So we have Tom Bell from the UK coming here to join us. Tom, you're amazing. We've got a little special little thing for you here. So we're going to be having affogatos. So I don't know if everyone's ever had an affogato before. But I chose it for a reason for you, Tom. So we're going to talk a little bit about your background. But you just, maybe it's the UK in you that always has a certain level of decadence, right? But at the same time, you're not a quiet guy. You have energy, and you bring energy to every single conversation. So we need the decadence of a gelato with the energy of espresso, a double espresso. Well, you just take it and pour it over.
I'm very clumsy, so I'm going to try and do this as best I can.
There you go.
Do I put the whole thing in?
All of it.
All of it.
Every
Wow.
bit of it.
You're getting married in Italy, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah, so this is your Italian experience.
Okay.
Now, I want to do a couple shout outs here just because we are using a local gelato, which I know in Boise, Idaho might sound scary. But it's from Black Market's Gelateria. I said that very wrong. Gelateria. Let me do it worse. Gelateria, I think is how it's pronounced. But really, really fantastic place for some gelato. Let's give it a taste. What do you think, Tom?
That's really good. I wasn't expecting this. I was just expecting to answer a few
Is this
questions.
your first affogato?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, man.
Literally my first experience.
I wish.
It will not be your last because the affogato thing is fantastic. It's the heat, it's the sweet, it's the
fantastic.
cold. I love all of
The
it.
bad thing is it kind of ruins ice cream and coffee separately, though. Because every time you have coffee, you're like, I wish this was an affogato.
Yeah, it does.
Every time you have ice cream, I wish I had coffee.
It's a marriage I never want to get rid of, but then you see your belly after a couple of them, and you're like, oh, I don't know. I think the hardest part about an affogato is when do you eat it, right? Do you really want to have ice cream in the morning?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want it in the middle of the day?
I got decaf espresso pods so I could make it. Yeah.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life, Thomas.
I get
Decaf
affogatos at
espresso
10
pod.
p.m. and I
We're
don't
going
go
like
to bed.
way off topic here, but that is 10 p.m. It's still like I just be a man and just take that coffee at 10 p.m. and see what happens.
He's got to feed those guns, to be fair.
Yeah.
My protein ice cream
I
and
can't
my
quite compete
decaf
with that.
coffee.
That's-
So this is not helping my Whoop conversation earlier, how I get really horrible sleep. I'm like, take that caffeine at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. Well, anyway, Tom, so before we get into some things, and I want to definitely learn about your background, but this is, you're in Boise for the first time, you're coming over to the States. We were talking about something that was a revelation for you here. It wasn't your trip to Walmart, which obviously
hoping you weren't
was
actually gonna
also a
mention that.
revelation. Oh, I am 100% So tell us, what was the thing that really blew your mind recently that you saw in a public restroom? We'll even do it that way.
Well, I think I'll just start by saying Boise's fantastic. You guys have been amazing. You've been really kind and you've made us feel so welcome. So just wanted to say thank you. And Thomas, I know we haven't met before, but I'm looking forward to getting to know you more. And thanks for making me feel so welcome. It's been fantastic. So back to the revelation that I experienced in the cinema last night, or the movies, as you guys say. It was the paper toilet seat covers. I suppose that'd be the best way to describe it.
I don't know if you can describe it any other way.
It was like I'd discovered fire for the first time. I think that's the equivalent.
So in the UK, they don't have them all?
No, I've never seen one.
Interesting.
I know I was with Kelly, my fiance, Michael Lehman, obviously, who you know, and they were literally on the floor laughing because of my reaction. I've been doing it wrong for years. I've just been doing individual pieces of toilet paper.
Yeah, man. Well, I will say, I think the thing that always confuses me about those, and in desperation, I could not think of a worse vehicle for what I assume is the germaphobe individual, right? Like, you really got to go, you're in a public restroom, you're grabbing at this
Thin
flimsy
toilet paper,
tissue paper and trying to throw it on there.
I try not to go like in public anyway, but if I'm desperate, I can't believe we're talking about toilet humor.
Yes,
but here we are. That's what
well, now
I'm
it just wonders, Thomas, are you a fan of the toilet seat cover?
No, I hate those things. I can never get them to work right. They always fall in the toilet where I can sit down. So I just use strips of toilet paper. Not individual. That seems too much.
Okay.
I'm just like strip.
Do you have to just go for it without anything, or?
Hands up. I'm not.
I've been known. Yes.
Yeah. Now I've seen some horrors. I worked at a mall food court, so I've seen some public restroom horrors. But at the end of the day, the germs are actually very low. Just so you guys, statistically, there's nothing on there. Just get over it, right? So with that being said, let's move away from toilets and into marketing, right? So, Thomas, just to give a little bit, I know just to tell the people, so you've been in the industry for quite a while. You have a really interesting background to go into, and then currently, not only are you an expert driving large amounts of traffic through native, but you also have a group of students. So just to establish that, like, you are in the game, not only teaching your own success or executing your own success, but to the tune of some really great success from your students. And if you don't mind me asking or announcing it right now, we actually calculated the students, the impact, over $30 million since 2021 that your students have generated just on our platform. Yes, thank you. And that's why we got the Avocado. One of these. Yes, there you go. Oh, yes,
thank you very much.
For sure. Boom.
The friendship and health.
With our Idaho mugs, right? So really, really amazing. But how did you get started? Where did this journey come from? I mean, how do you find yourself here?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's been a journey. I'll try and unpack that a bit from the beginning. So I was a professional pianist. I was a professional musician. And I first got into online marketing because I needed to create a website for that. It's just got that drink all over his bit.
Well, I'm pretty sure God's napkin hopefully caught it in the beard.
Flavor saver.
Yeah, it's a man's beard. It's a man's beard. So yeah, I needed a website for my music. And then I was doing a combination of performance and teaching. So I use Google Ads basically to drive students to my business. So I started to see, obviously, I can invest money and I can get a return. Hadn't really heard of affiliate marketing at that point, but I started to get to my mid to late 20s and I just realized there wasn't really much of a correlation between how good you are at the piano and how much money you could make from that. And then I started to think, well, I've got friends now that are, they're getting married, they've got houses, and I felt quite far behind with all that financially. Although I was pursuing my passion, it was almost quite a painful thing as well because I just had nothing, really. I think maybe like £1,000 in the bank was really
you were the starving artist for sure.
Yeah, definitely, and very commercially very small market because I was a blues. Well, I still am. I need to really get back to the piano, but I was a blues and boogie woogie player. Actually, that music originated your guys.
It did
in the Deep South. So looking for alternative ways of making money. I think I just started out like with all the usual Googling and, going through all the crappy courses that are out there and we won't name names.
There are good ones though.
Yeah, there are good ones.
Such a spark is a great way to start.
Yeah, exactly. And then I came across this private forum called AF Playbook. So I think we were talking yesterday about that, weren't we? A guy called David Ford who ran that. It's not running anymore, but at the time it was kind of up with STM and one of the main competitors to that. So
good old Stack That Money. Still around.
Still around. I think it was about $60 a month at the time. Yeah. And I still remember to this day how difficult it felt to spend that $60 a month on the membership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm even thinking, because I'm always curious that jump. We have a lot of aspiring marketers, even some reach out to us, and I think that leap of saying, I'm going to commit to education, commit to something, when you were like, I have nothing, I'm spending this money. Totally. Mentally, what did you have to tell yourself to make that happen?
I just had to do it and not really think about it too much.
Nice.
I've learned a lot about the mindset side of things and, taking action along the way. And really, so many people spend so long in the information collection stage and they never really transition out of that. They always feel like they need to collect all the information they can and then they'll be ready. And that next course, that's going to be the one. Yeah. And it's never like that because you discover the perfection along the way. You just have to take action, start that campaign. You could collect all the information in the world. You could buy all of my courses and do the mentorship, but until you actually do that first campaign, there's no substitute for that. Yeah. So I did, basically. I just took a risk and I thought, well, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I've got nothing, so I've got nothing to lose. So I suppose that's where I was at with the mindset side of things. It's easier to do that sometimes when you've got nothing. When you've got something to lose, I think risk, you kind of see it a little bit differently. So I joined the forum and then I had my first sale. I started out on pop traffic, which was a big thing back then. These days, not really so prevalent in affiliate marketing.
And just for anybody that was born after the year 2000, that's pop-up traffic. So pop-up ads, things you probably don't ever even know exist. But your grandparents could tell you all about it.
Yeah, so that was mainly desktop based. So I'm talking about companies like Traffic Vance, who are now Propel Media, Lead Impact. And I kind of got into that as it was starting to, I'd say just starting to decline a bit, but did end up making some really good money there as well. I think the first offer, well, actually wasn't a ClickBank offer that I promoted as my first offer, but I'm guessing I'm allowed to say that.
No, we're just gonna cut it
We're just going to quack it. We'll be sure to quack it because that would be too funny.
Yeah, so it was an offer called Easy Canvas Sprint. So I set the campaign up, had my first sale, but I wouldn't really say that was the moment I knew this whole business was real and it was going to change my life. Probably 3 months later, I went on holiday to Rome, my girlfriend at the time, and I didn't check my stats all week. And then I noticed I'd been making $150 a day in profit for the entire week.
Oh, profit, nice.
Profit. So I just realised I actually paid for that whole trip just with that campaign. And then I thought, well, actually, this is real. This is really worth focusing on. And I thought at that point, anything's possible, and it could change my life. But even so, even looking back on all of that now, I never imagined I'd be here chatting to you guys. Feel fortunate enough to call you guys a friend. I just never thought that would really happen to me. And I don't think when I first got into it, I really thought it was split. I don't think I had that belief that it could actually have that kind of radical transformation.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about exponential returns here. We're not talking about normal money that people earn. People might earn $1 million a year, but they've probably spent 25 years progressing in the corporate route and been able to, to be able to unlock that.
You got to sacrifice a lot of marriages and souls to be able to get to that level.
Yeah, but with one good campaign, you could logistically make, a few $100K just like that in a month or so. Wow. So it is wild. It is wild. And you also, there's obviously a lot of work that goes into it, and people talk about this thing being passive income, whereas in reality, there is some work along the way, and you can enjoy some leverage later once you put that work in. But yeah, I feel very fortunate, blessed, very, very fortunate to be able to be here and have this conversation with you guys.
Dude, well, we obviously are super excited. We feel fortunate. We're like, oh my gosh, we have Tom here. How cool is this? This is so. That's amazing, man. Well, actually, I think I really love what you said there, and especially I think that the life change. So. Lots of times we have a lot of people that are out there, and I think they're wanting to strive for this. And we have people that are even in this moment. I don't think people always appreciate what the industry could afford and what these jobs could do for us.
That's right.
Let me ask you, outside just what it does for you now, maybe what it did as a pianist, just talk a little bit about kind of what this, when you look at your life, what has been some of the impacts that this job has been able to have for you, or his career of going out and doing affiliate marketing?
I think it's almost hard to draw a comparison just because my life has changed fundamentally at every level, and that's what ClickBank can do. Mm-hmm. In terms of the lifestyle we have now, I live in a very nice house, 5-bedroom detached house. I don't worry about money anymore. Obviously, that's a part of it, but that's not my whole life. But it definitely helps. Yeah, definitely helps in a lot of
especially
things.
when you were that pianist. It was like, $60 is a lot.
I started off with like $100 a day. That was always my goal because I knew at that point in my life when I was doing music, it'd just be enough for me to not maybe do the lessons anymore, just focusing on the performance side of things. Where I'd probably panic if I made $100 a day now. But then that changed into $500 a day, and then $1,000 a day, and then $10K, and the most I've made in sales a day is $70K now.
Wow.
So I suppose
not too bad.
I mean, that's sales. And I'm a UK taxpayer. So
yes, it definitely wasn't that government. We trust it. It's all expense. Oh, that's amazing, man. Really just the full transformation. And to know that ClickBank played a part of that. We've heard that story before, but I think it's always just to stop and say, wow, we're here. Look at us, right? It's the whole Paul Rudd thing. That's amazing.
I love that. And I think as well, entrepreneurs are the worst for living in the future. If you speak to Kelly, my fiance, she'll say, I've got better over the last few years and just trying to appreciate the present. And I just be the best person I can be. And I wake up in the morning and I push forwards and, try and offer value to others as well, wherever I can as well.
Beautiful, man. Well, that's great. Well, Tom, I was going to bring it to mindset, but I want to see if you have any other questions or comments about that. Was amazing, Tom. But any questions to add?
I'm curious, when you start going from not really making money to making good than great money.
Yeah.
Like, was there challenges in that mindset growth of that? Like, is there, I imagine imposter syndrome might have come up a bit or other aspects like that?
That was a big one, especially when I moved into the education side of things. We can come back to that later and touch on it, the imposter syndrome. I think that's a really good talking point. But yeah, I mean, you spend in large amounts of capital a day. Like, there's risk. But I always tell people, I use this example because you're a tennis player, so I think you'll like this one. I had a really great tennis coach once, and he said to me, Tom, you need to discover the joy of rallying.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just used to blast it. Like, I could, I had a good serve and forehand. I just used to hit it as hard as I can, but that's not really tennis, is it? I mean, it can be a strategy. And I always think for affiliates, they need to discover that joy of volatility. Because you can't have the returns, you can't have those outsized returns without that element of downside being there. And people look at it as a really negative thing, but it's not. So I think leaning more into that was definitely helpful for me on the mindset side of things. And it's not just something you wake up with. It takes some practice. And I think you get that practice just through running campaigns. I mean, we had a great conversation yesterday, didn't we, about people buying all of these courses and collecting information, never feeling quite ready. But you won't be ready.
Yeah.
You won't be ready. You'll never be ready.
Yeah.
Because you find yourself along that journey.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'm going to butcher this quote, but something like the enemy of good is great. Or something
Yeah.
like that, right? If I was waiting
definitely.
for the perfect time,
Yeah.
it's
And
never gonna
that was my
happen.
problem as a musician. Because I was a bit of a perfectionist with that. I think you have to be to some extent when you're polishing pieces up and trying to get things absolutely right. But I probably would have progressed a lot more in my career, like as a musician, and getting better gigs and performances had I had the sort of mindset I have now back then, which is to find things along the way and not obsess over perfection. I think far too many people do.
Well, and I think
Guilty.
it's interesting. What it makes me think of, I definitely don't quest for perfection. But
I mean, we all do still.
Yeah, I think
don't get me wrong,
I think of the quote of Vince Lombardi, where it's that you reach for perfect and you'll catch greatness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think it's the pursuit of perfection is different than waiting for perfection.
Yes.
Pursue
Exactly.
perfect, but you can't start a pursuit when you're sitting still. You got to take action, right?
Definitely.
And I think that's when you think the love of the volley, which I love that, by the way. Fall in love with the volley, right? Or
I'll have to
volatility.
copyright that.
Rally.
Yeah, that's
Rally.
good. Yeah, the rally. Fall in love with the rally.
I
but
did
the-
that one for you.
the
That's
volatility.
yeah.
But I think that's so great because it's that idea of like the journey is truly what we have. At the end of the day, like if you think about the joy of anything, the journey is what really is the best part. Because once you have the end is truly the reward of the journey. And I think that's the same thing with affiliate marketing or anything you do. So you just got to start doing it and enjoy the process.
Absolutely. And I think I was always in that mindset of I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I've done this, when I've bought that house, when I've bought that car.
Yeah.
And then you'll just find a way to move the goalpost back because that's just the way we're wired as entrepreneurs. There'll always be a next thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It was oh my gosh, I'm blanking. I could see his face. Ezra Firestone.
Yeah.
And he had said, he's like, and he'd gone through easily one of the most traumatic and horrible things a human being, parents could go through of losing a child. And coming and talking, he talked on stage about, it's about the happiness of now. You can't say happy when, because if you can't be happy today, it doesn't matter what you'll do. When are you going to be happy then? There's always something that can make you happy. So it's just learning to be happy with the now. And if that's the joy of the pursuit, the joy of failure, the joy of trying, that's the best part, right?
And you can be there at 30K, yeah. You can be there at 50K, yeah. You can be there at 100K, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is, like when you say enjoy the rally, like what part of quote unquote the job in media buying as an affiliate, what do you find joy in the day to day?
Yeah, I think definitely the creative side, particularly with my background as a musician. And I think affiliate marketing is quite unique because you have to be creative and you also have to be technical, like with the tracking, looking at data. I mean, you don't need like a 150 IQ, obviously, to do this. I don't know. Do you know what your IQ is?
I have no idea, to be honest.
I do actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Oh shit. What
But
was
then
it again?
Should we cut that bit out?
My wife gave me an IQ test at one point, not knowing that's what it was back
Yeah.
then. So she probably knows. I'll have to text her. Yeah. What is
Yeah.
it?
Well, I like that she's holding that information from you. That's really nice.
She's like, oh,
Let's show that one away.
I bet.
Yeah, but coming back to your question, I love the creative aspect. I like being able to take an idea and think about as many different ways as I can offer that up. Whether it be an ad image for native traffic, for like a neutral offer, you might do something like the classic lemons boiling in the pan. But then looking at that and thinking, okay, well, what about bananas in the pan? What about kiwi sliced up that also offers a bit of color? And it's going to create the same level of intrigue, but perhaps offer it up in a way no one's done before.
Yeah.
So I think definitely that side of things. I think I'm naturally more that way. I think I'm more that way definitely than the technical stuff. I mean, I'm good at the technical stuff, but like my brother's the maths genius.
Gotcha.
I think there's always been a marketer in me, even when I was a musician, but I'm definitely more of a creative thinker who's okay at the technical stuff. But you only need to be okay because there's tools now that do all the code for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to build a landing page from scratch. When I got started, you had to take a bit of code and just edit it slightly to create the landing page you wanted. Now, there's so many good funnel builders out there that takes that side of the equation out of it, really.
Yeah, it's nice that we could, but it is always good that you have to have a little bit, right? A little bit dangerous.
Yeah, I'd say so. But people get intimidated by that.
Yeah.
Because
it's all figure outable now, right? It's
yeah. I've worked with people that were really scared of tracking. And that was the reason like they weren't getting started, because they thought, I can't do any code and I'm not particularly technical. But you can learn all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You can learn all of that stuff.
Yeah. Like I look at the stuff I see my kids teach themselves to write and build things, building their own websites. It's like
it's really cool.
If a under 10-year-old could do it, like anybody could do it. Because I could tell you he's not a genius. So like it's I love him, he's smart, but he's not a genius. So like you guys could figure it out. Like it's there. The biggest thing again is fear lets us be locked in.
Yeah.
So everyone has fears. It's just push through. The only way is through. Go after it and take action.
Totally agree.
So, well, let's. I think what I want to talk about, just as we're going in this vein, that'd be really interesting is you get the opportunity to really coach a lot of affiliates, and we have a lot of people that are sitting here listening. So, and when you originally started, where now you kind of focus on native specifically, but originally you were just kind of saying, hey, let's figure out what's best in affiliate marketing for you. So I think if you could just walk us through, like I have some specific questions, but in general, like when you're getting with someone that's like one-on-one, they're like, I want to do this. What's normally the starting point? What are the important questions or things that you want them to be almost ready for from a mindset standpoint versus skill standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I'll always have a chat with somebody before, obviously, they come into the coaching program. That's important, just to make sure expectations are set properly. I'd say definitely budget is a factor. And you don't need 10K for ads. That's just ridiculous. Some people will tell you that you don't. There's ways to do it on much, much lower budgets. But if somebody's got $20 a day, we'll probably have that conversation and say, maybe actually it wouldn't be a good fit to work with me. I'll just be doing you a disservice by getting you involved in paid traffic. Native compared to other traffic sources, maybe slightly more expensive, just because if you're looking at a network like Rev Content, Taboola, Outbrain, there's a lot of different partner placements that you have to test, because these traffic sources are basically an aggregator of different websites that you can buy traffic on, content-based websites.
Yep.
So it's going to take some spend to get through that. And there's also lots of moving parts. You've got different ads, different landing pages. If you use something like a redirect link, you could have 5 landing pages rotating with 5 different creatives and have 25 different combinations. And then you use your tracker and you see which of those combinations is profitable. So
is it more expensive because it's not as algorithm-based as, say, Facebook or Google?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Unless you looked at a traffic source like Newsbreak, which is a little bit more algorithmic, a lot more algorithmic.
Yeah,
it's a bit more like
Newsbreak's
Facebook,
cool. I'm
actually.
sure we'll talk about it more,
Yeah.
but it seems like a Venn diagram overlap of native and social kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like this, like, that's a really intriguing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But because the user experience defines the traffic type, it's still technically native. But
Gotcha. Yep.
when you look at the dashboard, it looks just like Facebook. That's what I thought when I first logged in.
Now, one thing that is interesting is that I could see how that has that front end cost, but at the same time, I would imagine one thing that seems almost appealing about that bit more manual selection.
Yeah.
There's a sense of control because with Meta, it's in some of those algorithms, it's just this black box that you're hoping that it goes where you want it to. And we hear all the time lots of affiliates are like, Facebook's just being weird, right?
Yeah.
There's a lack of knowing, but it feels like with native, where the listing's positions, and you have a lot more feedback and control a little bit.
I think that's a wonderful way to put it. I'm not anti-Facebook at all, because I still use Facebook.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, it's a different thing. And if you're prepared to play that game with some of the shutdowns you might come across, agency accounts, some volatility in the type of traffic you're receiving, sometimes it's just down to how your ad hits the algorithm. If you're okay with that, cool. Yeah, that's great. I'd encourage people to do it, and we should educate ourselves on as many traffic sources as possible, so we've got some diversity. But yes, Native's definitely more sustainable if you're doing like a direct comparison, but you've also got that scalability as well, because there's a lot of traffic. It's huge. Yeah, you've got a huge amount of traffic, and there's a lot of affiliates that still haven't looked into it yet. I think we were talking the other day about some of your platinum and diamond clients that I've worked with. And often they come to me when things get tough on other traffic sources. So they've got
I
some
want to
income.
figure something else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think that volatility can feel frustrating at times, right? So,
Yeah.
Now, going back as we got a little bit, so with the budget side of things, you said $20 a day when they're kind of looking out, you're starting with them to get that budget. What would you say if you're entering into paid traffic?
Yeah.
And even if we could put that, like, what would you, when you're telling your students, what do you think is a realistic budget for them to start out with?
I would say $100 a day is a great marker point.
Okay,
maybe a bit lower, maybe a bit higher. Just because there's other alternative networks that aren't Taboola and Outbrain, I wouldn't recommend that there necessarily, just because there's so much traffic to test. But like we talked about Newsbreak, perhaps. But that's a really good marker point for people. That's going to allow you to collect enough data. There's two ways to test. You can test fast or you can test slow. Either way, you'll spend the same.
Gotcha.
And I like to say 10x to an offer normally when I start off with it. So I'll spend 10 times the offer payout and I will look for signs of life. I don't care if I'm profitable at that point, but I just need to see consistent conversions. If there's consistent conversions there, then I'll continue and then I'll try and optimize that into profit. But even the whole testing, optimizing, scaling thing, I think is a bit of a myth as well, because as you're testing in native, you're always doing a bit of optimizing at the widget ID level. And then you might have a really good response in that initial 10x. And then you might think, right, I'm actually going to do a bit of scaling now while I'm continuing to test just so I can get the data in faster.
Yeah.
So there's many ways to look at it. The other thing I wanted to mention is about Clickbank's payouts. I'm not just doing this as a plug, by the way. I actually do believe this.
Hold on, let me just slip this. Yeah, not at all. Just kidding.
Yeah, that $1,000 under the table for the how much was it my students have made with you?
It was over 30 million.
That's
yeah,
just
over 30
crazy.
million. Yeah, it's wild.
Because
Right?
you texted me that yesterday.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was in Walmart for the very first time. I know maybe
What
we
a
can
way-
come
what
back
a
to
place
that
to
later,
receive
but-
that information,
I know.
right? I didn't know
that
bags
was
of
it,
chips
yeah.
could be this big.
No, that's exactly what I was saying. Me and my fiance Kelly, we were walking down do the translation. I was going to say crisps, but obviously you guys, it's potato chips.
Crisps sound much better. By
do,
the way.
yeah.
I just could not believe how many bags of potato chips were there.
But we don't
And
have,
the variety as
I
well.
live here, and I'm like surprised
Yeah.
every single time.
but we don't have prawn crisps, which I'm always upset
Oh,
about.
no.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
crisps?
Well, I'll buy you, come
Like
to the
shrimp.
UK and I'll buy
Yeah.
some prawn crisps.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Those are weird, but I
They're
like
good.
them. It's
They're
one of
really
those
good.
things I eat, and I'm like, I don't think I should like this. We've got obviously we're hungry. There's some
Yeah.
hunger here.
Just before lunchtime.
So yeah,
anyway.
that's where we were. You text me over 30 minutes. I'm delighted, obviously.
Yeah.
But coming back to the payout side of things, you guys are paying out so often these days. Like,
Yeah.
You can get bi-weekly payments. Sorry, not bi-weekly, twice a week payments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, I think anyone,
So from a cash flow point of view,
any account gets net 7 weekly.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
Once
you
you
can
hit,
get someone
once you hit
who's
platinum,
huge, yeah.
Once you hit platinum, you get twice weekly, and diamonds can get 3 times weekly. So yeah.
Because you even think about that, if you were able to get net 7 and you were doing $100 a day, you just need a credit limit of like $1,000 and you're good to
which
go.
is my point.
Yeah. That's
When I started affiliate marketing, really not the case.
Yeah.
And it's not like I've been doing this for 15 years, but you'd be lucky to get every 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially running in-house offers
Right.
that are hosted internally elsewhere. Those are usually still net 30.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there's other networks now having to step things up because they need to compete to obviously get the business, which is thanks healthy.
Yeah.
But from a cash flow perspective, I don't think there's ever been a better time.
Yeah. Well, and even our platinum affiliates have an option for 3 times a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could get it real fast.
That's amazing.
Well, diamonds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Diamonds, sorry.
Yeah,
diamonds. Whoops.
Yeah.
Just edit that. It's diamonds. Anyway, so no, that's amazing, man. So I really love that. I think that's so just powerful for so many people. Also, like we talked about kind of on the testing side. So I think the next thing I'm kind of curious about is, you mentioned you started out in Meta, but now the majority of your spend goes into native.
Yeah.
That's pretty curious. So walk me through that.
I think you said pop traffic. Did you go from pop
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's
Pop
okay.
traffic.
That's okay.
I apologize,
Facebook was a big part of my journey scaling.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
might
sorry,
be
I
a
apologize.
good thing to
Okay,
talk about
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, let's cycle through that as I skip that section. That's right.
I'm lost. I'm confused.
Yeah, so my journey was pop, and then I did some PPC along the way, Facebook native. That was kind of how I progressed. And then I've stuck with, I've still got all my pop traffic accounts. So
No way.
the odd, yeah, I do.
When's the last time you ran pop traffic?
Probably right now, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah, but
That's wild.
just very low, just some stuff I'm doing for a client. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I do all sorts of different things when it comes to media buying. So they don't spend a lot because there's not a lot of traffic available now,
Yeah.
but it's a good return. So I've always just left that and kept it going. But yeah, I went really big on Facebook over COVID.
Nice.
And I was in the survival market, which is, again, I think quite an interesting talking point because you guys have a lot of offers for that. Even that water filter that you showed
Yes,
me
that was the survival
on the
one.
tour
The
that we
Fix It,
filmed for my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Was that, I couldn't remember, was that, did Ian Stanley do the Fix It water filter? Who had the Fix It water filter?
That might have been Ian. No, that wasn't Ian's. I can't remember who.
Anyway, because I just know Ian had the one where he sucks the water out of the
straw.
toilet. Yeah, he had the life straw and he drinks it out of the toilet.
Is in LA. He's in LA airport. And does a very good ad creative.
Yeah, it's great. I might have seen that actually.
Yeah, you probably did.
There's 2 videos I need to track down. There's that one, and then there's the one of Michael Lohman being slapped in the face with that money.
Yes, for sure. That is a good one. I got you. So let's talk about that. So you went from, you're in Meta, and obviously I think that's still, at this point, I feel like Meta still are probably largest traffic source on the platform, right?
Yeah.
Between Meta and YouTube, it kind of seems like they shift depending on time, but it's still pretty large. So to see you went from like where we'd say probably easily one of the most popular networks and kind of shifting to the native. Gosh, man, what is in this avocado? I can't talk right now.
How is it when it's all melted? Because I think
it's awesome.
Is it just as good? So I could drink this now.
Yeah, it's even better when it's all melted. I'm not gonna lie.
Already, but
Was that? Is yours all gone?
Oh yeah.
Really? Did you finish that?
Of course you did. The trend continues.
Some people are like, savor it. I'm like, all the dopamine at once.
Yeah, either that or I'm talking too much.
See, I just can't like talk and
So why was Tom so quiet in the first 10 minutes? I'm like,
For those that remember our episode with Liz Graham, Thomas was the only one that finished all of the cheesecake in our cheesecake and champagne thing. So it was not a whole cheesecake.
No.
But it was like this size.
It was a good brick of cheesecake.
A brick, yes.
What kind of cheesecake?
It was passion
Just New York style, I think.
Nice.
Which, by the way, just side notes, we're talking about tasty things. This is like a food-oriented episode, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Before you guys
toilet.
leave. Yes. Well, they will. One comes first and the second
I can't believe you
later.
opened up with that.
Hey, I will say it is definitely not the craziest thing that I have opened up with on a podcast. If we remember our very first
With Josh, I was
second
thinking about
episode
that
with
the other
Josh,
day.
be bold and make mistakes. Ask questions about would you eat humans? Like, not a good idea. Didn't work. But that's all right. We did it anyway.
At least you tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not try
Like we
human.
said.
No, I did not. There was no eating of humans. It was just
That's
a
good to
question.
hear.
Just
Yeah.
gotta put that out there.
I'm not sure we could be friends anymore.
Now I lost my train of thought. We're talking about food.
Meta.
Meta. We made the shift over to Meta. So how do you do that from being such a large traffic source to going to native?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
Why?
Mark, because my accounts kept getting
Zuck
shut
wanted
down,
me to
that's why.
ask specifically. He's like, why the hell is he doing it? I'm so confused.
Yeah, because my accounts kept getting shut down. That was pretty much it. And it's
like
an
a period,
amazing traffic source.
Meta? Yeah.
I mean, that's always the best return on investment for my education academy. You know, normally some of you guys at home might have seen the ads that I run for that. But YouTube and Facebook are fantastic ways to run. But it's a lot easier if you're running your own product. Obviously, affiliates are all doing the same kind of thing. And then you get slapped for duplicate content if you're not careful. And algorithms are just a lot more, they're just a lot smarter these days at picking that sort of thing up.
Talk about that a little bit more. What happens with duplicate content? I don't think enough people are aware of what could occur.
We should definitely talk about that. A lot of affiliates are still going on spy tools and just cloning campaigns. So I've worked with lots of spy tools as part of the Education Academy because obviously, they want me to promote them. I'll only promote what I actually use though. And they will even tell you can't do that. Like they weren't designed for that. You've got to, look at the ideas on there. If it's a new market that you've never been in, you might need to start with that just to get a source of inspiration. But then think about it in your own way. Like we talked about earlier with the lemons in the pan idea. I think that's quite a nice way to look at it. How many different ways can you offer that creative up?
So even if you're like a swipe board.
Or think about your own angles.
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Maybe it's just a different version of the wheel. Maybe it's just a different tire. I think that's a better way to look at it. So don't use duplicate content. I mean, it's for something like native, it wouldn't be good anyway because you might have 5 ads just appearing directly next to each other. Nobody gets the click.
Yeah.
Nobody gets the click.
Yeah.
And also, the actual algorithms are getting a lot smarter at picking that duplicate content up. They don't want it on the platform. Why? Because CTR is going to be lower. If CTR is lower, if you want to fix CPC, they're not going to be able to sell you as many clicks. And that's part of their agenda as well. Remember, it's selling traffic. And also, like I said, you're just not going to stand out. And then you've got the algorithm, which will actually put you in a lower auction position. So you'll get lesser quality traffic and you'll actually get less scale as well as you start to move up.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help your competitors and it doesn't help you. So Yeah.
It's a lose-lose. The opposite of win-win-win. It's lose.
Yeah,
lose,
it
lose.
is.
Just go home.
It
So,
is,
yeah.
and it's amazing how many affiliates that I've worked with where part of the coaching is just been trying to persuade them not to do that. Just because there's a lot of information out there where people actually tell you to do it, and people want a quick fix, don't they?
Yeah.
It's work.
It's almost
It's work,
like
guys. You know?
if you could invent something that you just inject and magically weight goes away,
Yeah.
people would really just buy it like
Yeah.
crazy. I
Yeah.
couldn't even imagine. What a weird thing.
And I think part of it's fear as well.
Yeah.
You know, people trying their own thing, maybe they're fearful around spending money in that, whereas if they go with something that's already working, they feel more confident. But it comes back to what we talked about in terms of taking action, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like I too, like, I don't think you learn the why really.
No.
You're just copying, right? You're like,
Totally.
oh, that worked. You're like, I got
Yeah.
a sale. Like, and you're
Cool.
just
Let's
relying
get it
on
profitable.
Yeah, it's like, what do I do now? It's like, okay, so
Yeah.
if you're actually creating, and then that one worked better than this one.
Yeah.
You start to kind of figure out what's resonating with that niche, with that audience. Yeah.
And start. I think it's just that's where you develop a real marketing knowledge. And even think like if you go back, because the idea of swipe files and getting people's stuff and looking at other creatives has existed for all time, right? Like it used to be you'd print out all the magazines, right? You'd lay out your magazines that you'd get for that week, that day, the periodicals, and you'd look at the headlines and go, okay, they're doing it this way. That's really interesting. They're forming this layout with this text.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that kind of copy. Now, how can I take that and adopt it into an email, into a headline, into ad creative? Right?
Yeah.
By the way, guys, if you're targeting old demographics, still a really smart idea. Don't just look at Facebook ads. Go look at some freaking magazines. Because what do they have to do? Yeah, newspapers or Us Weekly or Bat Boy on National Enquirer, my favorite as a child. But that stuff really is great copy. Great.
And that's how it started out.
Yeah.
Native ads started out as publications.
Yeah.
And it's just evolved online. These things have been going on for years.
Yeah. So it's I love that you bring that up though, and I think that a lot of people don't realize the impact isn't just that you're gonna slow down your learning, but your campaigns won't work. They're just that they don't want to work. So
And if you are ripping someone who's much larger affiliate than you, they probably know someone at a network. They can probably report you for it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Things don't go great.
Yeah. And where opportunity is large in the affiliate world, and there's a lot of people that could enter into it, it's also very small in terms of the people. So relationships matter. Please don't go rip things off and piss off a bunch of people. It doesn't tend to ever benefit you in the long run.
I like what you said about lose-lose.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to sum it up. Yeah.
So, let's move on to win-win situations a little bit.
love a
So,
win-win.
Let's. So, actually, specifically now, I'm really curious. Like, I want to now talk. I want to talk it all. I just want to get words out in a way. I want to talk specifically about native. And so, first off, I want to see if you could give maybe just a couple of things about if you're starting off in native. First, we've talked a little bit about why, so we'll cover there. But what are some things you need to know when you're first starting out? And then we'll start to transition a little bit into the advanced tactics. What are the things you need to be knowing about native right now?
Yeah.
And we'll go into that. But first, let's try and talk about the new people, whether they're an advanced affiliate or they're brand new. What do you need to do when you're starting out with native for the first time?
Yeah, well, I'd say if you've already been working at a traffic source, there's nothing to stop you running those same kind of offers. Native's broad appeal. A lot of the stuff you'd run on Facebook and YouTube, obviously broad appeal as well. And you guys at ClickBank have got so many offers. For weight loss, toe fungus, survival, skincare, just to mention a few. So
I'm now envisioning how those all could be in one human being, right? Like who's the one buyer?
I'm right here.
We're definitely the muscle building side. I wasn't expecting that. When he took your shirt off this morning, that sounds terrible.
We did get
when he
That's
took his coat off.
it was a different kind of pillow talk, guys. We can record it.
That was the other meeting we had.
I thought that was between us, Tom.
Let's take a sip of that avocado.
So the
You
offer.
can recover, Thomas.
I can
shirtless,
recover
but
it.
we're gonna move on.
I can recover it.
So
Definitely.
for people that aren't thinking about shirtless Thomas, let's talk about new native advertising. So
Yeah.
you can just replicate that copy.
Yeah,
over
definitely.
Broad appeal.
I'll give you my experience when I went from Facebook to native. I literally cloned the exact same funnel, except what I did is change the landing page because the ad can stay. Oh, sorry. Just moving my mic out of the way intentionally. So the ad itself you might have the same kind of idea or theme. Very similar thing in terms of the picture. Often with an offer, always with an offer, particularly if it's VSL, I always take the hook of the offer and I'll try and create a visual representation of that hook. So if it was something like Nagano Tonic on ClickBank, it's one of your top weight loss offers. It's all about this strange Japanese water hack, right? So you could have like the ice in the drink with a strange, color maybe, or you might have the powder being tipped into the pan of sliced up banana. I'm just making a couple of things up, but you can get as wacky as you like. So native's going to have that kind of effect. In terms of the funnel itself, coming back to the landing page, you need content because people are there to consume content. So you've got to satisfy what's required from the end of the funnel, which is that VSL offer. So you're not trying to sell, obviously, the offer, you're trying to sell the hook. And then the offer itself is just a way to satisfy that hook when someone's got 40 minutes into the VSL, okay? But people are there to consume content. So you have to have, I would use like an advertorial type of page rather than a quiz, which I might do on Facebook, where people are going from socializing to buying. It's a very different user experience. So funnel specific, and then also user experience specific.
So someone's on an article, MSN.com or something, they're scrolling through, they click on the ad you're running, you're giving them another longer form piece of content.
Exactly.
Getting the click. Yeah.
I mean, what you could even do in the past is copy all the branding on very specific widgets. So if you have some high traffic widgets, and widgets are basically individual websites that you're buying traffic on, you could clone some of the branding to make it fit in with MSN. They stop.
I was going to say, is that allowed?
But you see what I mean? Just to blend into the user experience. So that's the priority. I'd say to new people looking, just think about the way your funnel works. Obviously, be prepared to maybe not see. I mean, sometimes you set something up instantly, it's profitable.
Oh, wow.
I've had that happen lots of times, and I've seen it for students as well. But the reality is, a lot of the time, you might put $1,000 in and get $600 or $700 back. And
that's not crazy. That's pretty exciting.
Don't be afraid of that. Like we said, embrace that volatility.
Yeah.
I always tell, because I try to get offer owners to run their own traffic a lot of times, because especially if they're starting out, it's like, hey, don't rely on affiliates to test, because you'll be chasing yourself in circles. Learn to run your own media. Like, oh, but I'm not getting profit. I'm like, cool. Instead of you spent $1,000 and only made 400 or made 600 back, that was $400 you spent on research, and now you got a bigger base to build off of.
Definitely. And also that's going to, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good.
That's also going to come back to them later when affiliates are sending traffic to an optimized funnel, right?
Yeah.
100%.
I was going to say too, you prove that it could sell, right? I think it was things like right now, if you're like, well, I don't know, let's have affiliates, just like, we don't know if it's going to work. And even if you might spend more to know that you have something that can convert, that is worth its weight. If you could just go to somebody and go to an entrepreneur and say, hey, if you spend $1,000 to know that your offer could actually convert, would that be worth it to you? It's guaranteed you'll have that knowledge, and you won't have to continue to pursue anything else. And they're like, oh, hell yeah. Well, that's why you're going to test this on native ads. Or you're going to take that, go put it on there.
Chat to Tom.
What's what I like about from a newer intermediate affiliate perspective, right? Like if you're at 60, 70, 80% ROAS, it's like, could someone like yourself, you see that and you go, oh, I know I can get that at 1.2.
I'd be delighted
right?
if I saw that initially.
Great. They're going, oh, this isn't working. This is a scam.
No.
All this stuff.
Profit.
But because they don't have that experience there.
Definitely. I would say like even as far down as like minus 50%.
Yeah. I was curious, like when you start
around.
testing something, what helps you go, I'm going to keep testing this to optimize? And what's like, I'm going to move on to something else?
Yeah, I really love the question, because the reality falls into a bit of a grey area.
Sure.
And it's opinion and it's experience looking at data and it's evaluating all the different moving parts. So let's say you spent $1,000 and you've made 500 back. Okay. Where's that $500 come from? Is it one particular ad? Because if it has, that means you've potentially found a winner, and then you turn everything else off and it goes profitable. How many different widgets are making up the profit? Is it just one, or is it maybe 10? So you've always got to be asking the question against all the other moving parts. And I think affiliates just go in and they look at it in a one-dimensional way, and the reality is much deeper. And it's almost learning the right questions to ask.
Gotcha. I love that.
Like you could even bring that back to the meaning of life. Maybe the right question to ask isn't what's the meaning of life. Maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe it's a reality none of us can comprehend.
Listen, you can't bring these questions to me, because I'm going to go on a rabbit hole of we're talking perception, alternate reality. We don't need to go down that. But I love that. It's like the idea that you got to ask the right questions.
I do think there's more outside of this universe as well.
For sure.
Again,
Thomas has heard me go on some of these. Have you before? Have we ever talked about my perception? Yes, I was going to say. It doesn't take a lot to nudge me.
We've done over 200 episodes. I've heard.
But no, you're very right. Like you have to don't think of the surface level question. Here's the thing: like we all hear that. Well, that's the meaning of life, right? It's a great way to start a cult. You might be wondering about it. Let me tell you. But that's such a surface level question. We know that reality is so much deeper. What's the meaning to my life? What's this? What is to now? Right? You got to get down to a narrow scope, and it's to be the same with media. Okay. I have numbers, right? We have sales and we have spend.
Yeah.
That's just what is the meaning of life. We want to get deeper down to where is the spend, where is the sales, why are they coming this way, which part is into it. That makes a ton of sense.
Learning to ask the right questions is a big part of media buying. And it's not a one-dimensional thing. People want me to give them a preset of rules. They want, this is the rule, this is the rule. It doesn't work like that.
This is the playbook I'm going to follow every single time.
There are certain rules. Like there's definitely a framework to follow, but there's so much subtlety in that process. And I think a lot of affiliates aren't prepared to look into that.
Well, it's funny. This made me think about last night. We have a community pool. We were out there really late. It closes at 10, but it's with kids. So it's like, oh, it's summer. Why not stay a little bit later? Cool. Some guy with a dog, not in the pool, that obviously is in the HOA, walked by to shout to say, the pool's closed, you better get out. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, when you think about it, that's a rule, right? But really, that rule should be looked up as a framework. If you're able to be safe and fine, you're good, find a way that works, and that number of 10 could be, maybe 11 or something like that, right? As long as it within the confined of the framework of be respectful, don't be loud. So we go that same idea as a framework is, hey, we want to go deeper to understand what's going on, and that's going to be different every single time. But the rule is to drill down.
Totally.
That's not a rule. That's a framework. So I think lots of times what people need to do is understand rules don't generate success because you need to learn, and that they can't exist in a gray area. Because what you're going to do is you're going to miss out on opportunity. We missed out on opportunity to have more fun because some guy wanted to stick to a rule, right? That's dumb. Don't stick to a rule.
Listen,
find
Dave.
a framework.
Stay out of this.
So, but think about it. Like that's why I think the framework makes so much sense because it's just a pattern. It's a strategy, but it allows for variance as you
Definitely. I like to think of it as solving little problems along the way. So I think that comes back to my piano background. When you're learning a new piece and there's different strategies that you would go to memorize that or get around technical challenges. You have to, your nervous system basically has to be able to create things you might have done before. And it's always problem solving. And that's the way I work with my students. I try and get them to think like this. It's not just a case of, here's the agenda, let's go through it. I want to know what you're thinking. Why have you created that ad? Why have you made that decision?
It's the critical thinking process around it, right?
Definitely.
Not just I'm going to plug this in and get this out and be done.
I mean, it'd be a lot easier for me to do it that way.
Sure, yeah.
But then I just feel I'd be doing people a disservice. And the only reason I set up the Education Academy was to offer value. And I've done the thing I'm teaching.
I was curious why you decided to go the education route instead of I'm just going to crush it as a media buyer.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me that. I think to start with, it really wasn't on the cards for me. Like, I didn't really go into it looking to do it. I just got so many people reach out and ask. Well, after I won the ClickBank Platinum Award for the second time, a lot of people just started tracking me down. I don't know how they found me, but started tracking.
So it's kind of creepy sometimes, right? Yeah.
Started tracking me down on Facebook and asking for coaching. So to start with, I felt like I was just satisfying a demand. But I also, coming back to what you touched upon earlier about the imposter syndrome, I had massive imposter syndrome. I wouldn't take anyone's money for ages.
Oh, as you were coaching?
No. Well, no, I just didn't do it. I just didn't do the coaching. Yeah. I thought, well, why would anyone want to? Why would anyone want to pay me to listen to me speak? Even when I think back to that mindset now, in terms of like where I started off from, just the fact we're here doing this in the present, it's amazing, isn't it? So eventually I kind of gave in. And I realised I was going to have to record some content for YouTube and do that side of things. And I hadn't done any presenting before. So I actually hired an acting coach. She's fantastic. And, when you're on camera, you almost have to have a heightened perception of what you're doing, I would say. It's an elevated version of yourself. Like, I'm pretty much, like, this is just sort of me, but I almost need to feel like I'm at 10 out of 10 in terms of, like, how I come across on the camera to just be here.
Yeah.
So I had to do a lot of that side of things. And then, I set up my native ads masterclass, which is basically my 8-hour video course. Probably shifting the business model soon to membership site. This public announcement, never mentioned that before, specific to ClickBank. So that's coming soon.
Like a breaking news.
Yeah, that's coming soon. And there'll be a digital community with that as well. So I've done that. And then I had the one-on-one coaching, which has been the most popular thing because there's lots of courses out there, but there's not many people that will be prepared to. You might be able to work with someone in their team, but working with like a super affiliate one-on-one, it's a bit of a scarce asset, I would say.
So knowing that you made that leap though, and you mentioned this in some conversations yesterday, like what was that? What have you found that's so gratifying or something about coaching and keeping the coaching realm? Because I think there's a lot of people, it's like, oh, cool, I could do that, and then jumping into it. But it takes somebody that actually enjoys that. So I'm curious, what do you kind of
Yeah,
get out of it?
I think the reason it felt so natural, it was just the fact that I'd been a piano teacher. And I think I'm quite good at getting the best out of people. My dad said to me, he's like, your ability is the fact that you get the best out of yourself. You found a way to get the best out of yourself, and you can do that for others. And I thought that was really profound when he said that to me.
Yeah.
That's a good dad, man.
He is a good dad.
Yeah, that's
He's
a great thing.
dad.
That's a good. Well, and obviously with your students, we saw the success in there.
You're doing it, right? I had no idea it was that
We
much.
now have. You got to go back after we're done with this podcast. You got to shoot your dad a message and say, "Boom, this is Dad. It's
really
proof."
cool.
Right?
Yeah, I was really touched with that. You guys done that for me and showed me that information.
That's awesome.
Means
man.
a lot. Yeah.
Well, obviously, it's having great effect, and you're a ton of skill at it. And you could just see in this conversation how I love that too. It's a lot of it's finding out, like you said, why are you doing it? It's the why piece.
Yeah.
So I imagine, I think one of the biggest things to me, I always find it weird that more people don't ask why all the time.
Yeah.
But that internal why is probably one of the best ways to start extracting the best of yourself. Why do I do this? Why do I do that? So get into the core.
I imagine anyone who launches a course in this kind of space, right? I imagine you've gotten some comments around this is a scam or you're gurus or whatever, right? Like,
especially with his Lambo photos,
But yeah,
I do have the car videos and photos though, but they're actually my cars.
Yeah, there you go. There you
If
go.
we need to verify it, we can verify
Yeah.
that. That's fine. But
I was just curious, like how do you handle those? Like just personally, like when you see that come through, like
yeah, I mean, so some of them were quite hurtful at the start because it's hard not to take that personally. But it's only 1% of the comments. That's the other thing. I've spoken to Kelly about this, my partner, and you just have to look at all of the positive stuff that's coming out of it. And, if I was getting 60% hate, then I might have to recalibrate what I was doing perhaps. But it's literally it's probably not even 1%. Just every now and again, someone will just send me a really nasty email. And I just have to think, where's that coming from? And it's more, I suppose, what they're bringing to that, isn't it? Rather than it being a reflection on you.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that it's that old adage of, I think content is right. Whether they hate you or love you, they're thinking about you. So enjoy all of it the same. And maybe that's just me. That's the way. But I do know, like, actually, there was a guy that he's a very a sports personality I used to listen to, and his social media strategy was so brilliant. And he's just like a crazy dude, but he's like, oh, I just read the positive comments. I don't care what anyone else says.
Yeah.
He just goes
And
through,
that's the best way.
filters out anything's name. He's like, so I think social media is great.
Just
I
has
just
an
go and
assistant,
get
send me the
gassed up,
positive
and he's
ones.
like, man. Right? And so it's the idea we gravitate towards the negative sometimes. But even if someone's like negative and yelling at you, which this is a call, if anyone hates me, please send me an email. I want to know. I want to see it.
affiliated at clickbank.com.
Yes, affiliated at clickbank.com. Kyle,
hate. Yeah.
I hate your face. I'm like, oh, cool. Especially if you have some good jokes, because I love self-deprecation. But I could see how that could be hurtful when you're putting your passion into it. So just guys, never read the negative comments. Focus on the positive, because you're doing good work, and if people think it's good, that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's people that just leave a comment on YouTube. It's not even like they bought my course.
Yeah.
Like if you buy my course and you feel I've scammed you, like, fair enough, but not somebody that's never even met you.
Reddit has taught me about, like, man, the internet is filled with a lot of angry people. They're just so angry at everything.
Sad, though.
They like coffee stuff. I'm like, why are you so angry, man? We're talking about espresso. Yeah. So it's just shocking what seems to anger people.
Yeah, it's that faceless interaction, though.
Yeah.
People change when they get in a car and they're driving down the road because you don't have that face-to-face interaction.
I'd
Some
like
of the
to have that
confrontations I've
face-to-face
seen,
interaction,
I'm a defensive driver. Like, I don't go looking for the confrontation. Some people enjoy it though, don't they? I just find that
Kyle's
odd.
the opposite. Kyle's going to road rage.
I have a really bad. My wife consistently tells me I need to get it under control. It's
no way.
There's no place I get more angry at than in the car when people do things I disagree with.
Yeah.
And I have been the person that's like, I'm ready for the face-to-face, like, let's go. And so, but my wife consistently reminds me, and I always think there's actually a very uncaught serial killer called the road rage killer, and he is known for forcing people off the road, shooting them and driving off. So, yeah, I guess I probably need to calm it down. Or I am him.
I was going to say, we're not.
This is taking a dark turn. I thought the toilet was the worst.
No, it's always darker. There's always
darker.
places. But, Anyway, let's shift away from my road rage. And no, I get here to talk about it on the cons. Well, one thing I'm actually really curious. Let's kind of talk about some of the advanced stuff on native now. So for people that are in native or even maybe some accelerated media buyers, we've had some other native buyers on. Walk me through maybe just some exciting new things you're seeing in native, as well as maybe some big changes that people need to be aware of.
Cool. I think I'll start with the changes, and compliance is always an ever-evolving landscape, as we know.
The C word that we love to talk about.
They keep building 10-foot fences. We keep building 11-foot ladders.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people come from other traffic sources to native. Obviously, things have been changing at Google lately. Things have always been a little bit tough on Facebook. They don't tend to be the easiest on affiliates. But even within the native landscape itself, I've probably seen more people exploring more like alternative traffic sources as well. So like the big ones, Taboola and Outbrain, but we've also got Rev Content, Newsbreak, which is kind of making a bit of a surge recently. You've got other networks like Persendo. I think we mentioned Native the other day, didn't we? And there's definitely more of the market there as well that people don't realize that they have a lot of traffic. You could easily spend 10, 20, 30, probably 50K a day on just one of those traffic sources I mentioned.
That's awesome.
But I think affiliates would be happy spending $500 a day if they're making a return.
Yeah.
So I would say, terms of compliance changes, it's always changing. What I will say, though, is on native, the networks actually do want to work with you.
That's what I've seen from people like yourself. It's like Facebook's like this black box where you just disapproved. What? It's like, why? Like Google shutdowns, like why?
Or ghosting as well. That happens a lot.
It seems like with native, like you'll get better answers.
You'll get an ad rejected from time to time. Cool. I'll just change the ad. With a bit of critique from the staff, maybe saying, "Oh, try this."
You've seen that pretty universally with almost all networks.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, some are.
Cool.
I'm not going to call any specifics out, obviously, but some are definitely better than others, and some have been amazing with my clients and my students.
Do you have to be a certain revenue to get that? Or is it kind of like if I'm starting out on a network and I submit an ad and it's uncompliant, should I expect to get something back?
I would say, it really depends on the network, obviously. Because I've built quite a good relationship with some of these networks. They do give my students, I want to say preferential treatment, but they give us the service we deserve.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go. Yeah. It's not preferential.
Because
we
and a Facebook guy is definitely going to feel like they deserve, a good service there. So, and I think people are surprised because they've come from those traffic sources. They're always surprised that they don't get things shut down. Like they're always very cautious, rather than just calling things out directly. I mean, there's certain things you can and can't do. You couldn't say, discover how to lose 20 pounds with this simple coffee drink from the headquarters at ClickBank.
Yes, all the ice cream and coffee you want, right to 20 pounds less. That sounds good.
To be fair, that could be a good native ad. If you've got a camera over the top and that's stirring. Because I also
it's kind of a weird looking liquid.
Well, it is, but also you've got something dynamic going on in the ad. And you've got something moving. And what do moving parts assume? Processes. And what happens with a process?
Outcome. I got it.
I
was so happy.
Oh, God. It's definitely bought my course.
I was on the sales page yesterday.
Love that. Yeah, exactly. But then people are buying into something.
Yeah.
So although you haven't got them to buy something yet, you've got them buying into your hook.
Yeah.
And that's half the journey done.
Dude, that's look. We got a live marketing lesson. Awesome. So with compliance, just a couple things. So you said, have there been any recent changes that you think that might catch people off by surprise that you've seen from compliance?
Definitely with before and after pictures and weight loss.
Gotcha.
That is definitely a key one.
Because I feel like that was kind of a native staple for a long time.
Oh, it's huge, and they convert like butter.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you've got to think about. I think bringing it back to the hook, like we talked about earlier, with coming backwards from the offer and creating that visual representation from the hook, whether it's an image or if you're able to do some video ads, which are available on native now with Newsbreak. You've got to come
just to shout that out, I just want to put an extra attention on that. Video ads on Newsbreak. So we go with people because one of the things that we have a lot of people do static on Meta. But if you're doing video on Facebook or Meta, you can now roll right. Newsbreak.
You can literally clone those campaigns. Oh yeah. Have a chat with me.
And you said they're performing super well on the ones.
Really well. Really well. Yeah.
Newsbreak.
Yeah,
video ads on Newsbreak, right? Yeah. Awesome. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to distract you with that. But
that was a good question.
I don't remember what the question was. Did we finish it off? I just got excited about Newsbreak.
I think it was about
other changes. So before and afters is kind of a big one that's changed recently.
Don't do that. Yeah. I mean, you won't get your account banned. I've actually never seen an account banned on native,
Oh, wow.
So actually, I'm wrong. one time. But he had
Dave.
He's sitting there. That's
why I'm so sad.
Ads on native.
Makes sense now, doesn't it? But he actually did get that account back. So he had some malware on his landing page. And then, I mean, it wasn't his fault. He just got his site hacked.
So I assume you're talking about compliance on the ad. Yeah. You also have to be careful before, afters on the lander. So
I would say the closer that you get to the VSL or the offer, the more you can do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you could have, I mean, you wouldn't be able to use a before and after in the ad, but on the landing page, you might be able to use like an after picture with maybe on the left-hand side, if you used a split screen type of picture, you might be able to put like the hook idea that we talked about before, lemons in the pan, someone with a great body on the right-hand side, like yourself, Thomas.
Yeah.
You guys are gassing me up. I love this.
We're going to get one of those buttons down by the end of this episode. That's the goal.
Compliance will be all over that, that's for sure.
And this is how Kyle gets another HR meeting. So let's go into the exciting things. What are some of the things you're seeing that are happening on native right now that are really, really cool and people need to be paying attention to?
Yeah, I think just what I've described, really. I mean, any one of those options that we've gone through would be a great opportunity.
Are you collecting leads at all, or are you just going pure straight sale?
I mean, sometimes we'll run a lead generation offer, but I guess you mean in terms of like building your own list.
Yeah.
I've got a few guys that do that. And that's interesting as well, because I think there's a bit of a myth out there that you have to be collecting a list to make money. A lot of top affiliates, like if you looked at all of your platinum and diamond affiliates and you looked at their funnels, I've seen them, as an educator and a consultant. They're keeping things very simple.
Yeah, very few of them
very simple.
build a list, anything like that.
Yeah. I would say that's almost the exception at the top.
Yeah.
Like, they have people that are doing that.
And they want to see a return on the same day, because if you're doing list building, you've got to be prepared to maybe go in the hole a bit to start with and maybe break even on the front end and make it on the back end. But I'd also say to people looking at building a list, what sort of value can you offer over the long term?
Yeah.
Like I had a very large tennis website. I didn't tell you about that.
No,
I'm going to catch up on that later. Called thetennisbros.com. We sold the business recently. But we had 2 million people a year on the website because tennis was just a passion for me. So I just decided to do that and it just took off. But obviously with something like that, we could monetize a list in so many different ways because we owned the offers we had on there. We had affiliate links on the website as well, just through like the rackets and the strings we were promoting. And then also just pushing people back to content.
Sure.
Because you can monetize that content with display ads on there too. So there was so many ways we could deliver value with that list. It made sense. And we had like pop-ups on the site to collect leads. And not just that, we had very specific pop-ups in very specific areas of the website. So that funnel that these went into was hyper-targeted, and that would increase our conversion rate as well. So, but I suppose people could use it as a retargeting strategy. Well, if you're running volume, then
I was going to say, if you really want to, if list building is something you feel passionate about in the paid media space, we did an episode with Nate Kennedy, and that is actually his whole thing is generating very high affinity lists, keeping subscribers engaged for a long time, and monetizing that in a lot of ways. And he goes in a lot of great detail of how to do that with some. And funny enough, he does a lot of quizzes, which are sorry, not quizzes, polls, poll stuff, which is just really, really brilliant and I think fun. To come up with just like that could be our Tesco conversation.
Oh,
like
what Tesco?
Or it's
the meal deal.
The meal deal.
We
like, where's your
meal?
Where and what is your meal deal? But like. Anyway, we won't go into that. It's a great episode. Be sure to go check it out. But it's fun to know there's always different strategies for what you could be doing that.
Definitely. So many ways to make money online.
No, that's brilliant.
So many ways.
Well, one of the big things that comes up oftentimes that we're hearing a lot more about is trends, right? Seasonality. And I think there's some very specific trends. And one thing I love about native is there's trends that sometimes you have access to on native that maybe are a little bit harder to do on meta. So can you maybe talk about some items or trends that you tend to see in products with native?
Yeah, I think generally affiliates are always doing the same kind of things, but maybe just have more exposure to certain elements at different times of the year. Like Q1 is always going to be huge for Nutra. I mean, that's the same across the board. And I think compliance is a bit more relaxed at that time as well, just because you've had all the big advertisers that have pulled the budgets out in Q4, and that's the time when affiliates can kind of really come into their own. So we do see an acceleration with that in NATO. And obviously, I'm very fortunate with the Education Academy because I see so many campaigns, and I get a really broad insight into what's going on. And then Q4, I would definitely say, like the e-commerce side of things. We discussed, didn't we, yesterday about maybe ClickBank having more of that stuff like on the platform. I think that would be really cool. Because it always seems to be e-com giddy up. in the same conversation. When the reality is, there's lots of affiliate networks that offer that, and even going direct as well. So I say, more of a health focus in Q1, and then more of like a e-commerce focus to satisfy those shopping season buying habits. But people are doing, you can run weight loss all year as well.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a myth to say there's certain things that happen at certain times of the year.
Yeah. Well, I will say there is a window in weight loss, and it's about the second week after, or the first week of December after that, about 10 days in December. You definitely see buyer intent around supplements start to go down some. So, but other than that,
weight
you
loss,
can't do it. Yeah, and weight loss and certain Nutra. Not all Nutra.
No.
Immune support could do quite well all the time. So,
But
anyway, so no, that's great. And I think it's good to know that that's another area where you can look at some of those trends, make sure you don't have to shut down your business in Q4.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Right?
No.
There's still plenty of money to be made.
You can expect perhaps the traffic to be a little bit more expensive.
Yes.
But then there's not always guarantee of cheaper traffic in Q1 either.
Yeah.
So it will be a bit more expensive in Q4, but you might find conversion rates are a lot higher, which offsets things too.
Yeah. So it's all about testing and being bold
it
and
is.
taking action,
It really
right?
is. Yeah, we've covered like the whole of the marketing spectrum today, haven't we?
Exactly. So, well, as we kind of circle towards the end here,
Yeah.
I think you've talked a lot about your group, your academy, people will be able to interact with you. So I know there's probably several ways that people could get a hold of you or work with you, Tom. So this is your opportunity to just say, who are the people that'd be great for students?
Yeah.
And then maybe even also if it's like, hey, if I'm a diamond or platinum and I'm like, I want to go to native, walk me through kind of the people that would be the right fit for you and then how they could get a hold of you.
Yeah, so I've worked with all kinds of different affiliates since I've started doing this. I've had people that have got no experience whatsoever, and maybe they've got as far as just setting a ClickBank account up, and that's it.
Sometimes an accomplishment all on its own.
Yeah, right, okay. And then also I've worked with those people that are a lot more experienced, and as you said, like platinum, diamond people that are looking for a way to diversify, and I'm happy to work with both. I'm here to offer as much value as I can to people. I put a lot of myself into it as well. So I do have a small team where I outsource some of the coaching sometimes, depending on people's budget. It's not like 20 grand to work with me either, by the way, just to be clear.
For now.
For now, guys. For now. But yeah, if you want to get hold of me, you can go directly to revenuetactics.com, or you could go to my YouTube channel, which is also Revenue Tactics. I'm very active on both.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Well, that's amazing. Well, Tom, this has been inspiring, informative, fun, and we covered from toilets to native conversion. So we've really got the whole spectrum in. Thomas, do you have any other questions for Tom or anything else you want to add into this? I think it's been just so awesome of a conversation.
Lots more questions. We could go a lot longer on this, but no, we'll keep it as concise as we can with being as rabbit trail as we have been. But no, Tom, I just want to thank you for coming out to Boise, making the long trip. I know it's a lot.
Really appreciate you having
not a lot of direct flights to this part of the world, but so really do appreciate that. And no, I can tell you're very genuine, and just the revenue you've done for your students and yourself, and the way you've changed lives for yourself and your students is really inspiring. So thank you for sharing your story.
Appreciate it. It means a lot.
Any final messages for the listeners out there, from the noobs to the most experienced? Anything you want to
I just draw back to what we said earlier about finding perfection along the way. Don't stay in that information collection phase forever. The true reality, when you start learning the most, is when you take action with a campaign.
All right.
So
I love
that's
it,
the best
guys.
tip I could give.
Begin the pursuit to perfection today, but it starts with action right now.
It does,
So
right
let's
now.
go do it, guys. So with that, as we tell the people as we leave, and again, Tom, yes, thank you so much.
you.
This has been so much fun.
Really appreciate it.
It's been just
thank you.
amazing. I loved every
buddy.
part of it. I know we have the awkward.
We do, don't we?
If only I had longer arms, Mr. Fantastic. But as we tell you guys, please rate, review, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss out on an amazing episode. Make sure to comment and send us an email. So please send all your Kyle hate email to affiliatedclickbank.com or to your love email for Thomas, also to affiliatedclickbank.com, and give us your questions, things that you need to know or you'd like to know out in the industry. We will do our best to answer them. Until next time, what do we tell the people?
Happy scaling.
Thanks, guys. Be safe out there.
Woo!